Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. There's a very big number of with us joining today, so hopefully we'll have some good Q&A for the promoter this afternoon. So today we are showcasing one of the campaigns on the Spark site, and that, of course, is ASX and their president Paddy Power, who I'll introduce to you in a minute. But just before that, I just wanted to say a few words about a couple of things. As investors onto the Spark platform, you might be interested to know that we recently closed a campaign for a company called Halo SOS. This saw investors achieve a 366% return on their initial investment with Halo from a couple of years ago. I'll repeat that number again, 366% increase for our investors, which I think you'll agree is a great increase. This followed onto hot onto the heels of another company that we raised funds for called Wallola. They recently closed a round with a venture capitalists not too long ago. This saw Spark investors achieve a 650% return on their investment. Again, 650% increase. So I think this shows you that these two companies, along with most of the other businesses that we've raised money for, are scaling rapidly and want to give you, our investors, a big return on your investment. I mentioned these just to highlight just how selective we are in making investment opportunities available on to Spark investors. Less than 1 in 10 companies that we speak to make it to the platform, which emphasizes the quality of the investment opportunities that we offer. The company that we'll be hearing from shortly also fits into that category, as you'd expect. In addition to ASX, who are on the site, we have another excellent company who are also raising with us again, and that is BusterBox. BusterBox raised 160,000 from Spark investors just over 2 years ago. Many of the investors into that round are following their money in this round too. BusterBox is a subscription service for dog food and treats, and they have over 9,000 active customers across Ireland and the UK, and are actively expanding further into Europe with Germany, France, and Poland. They have an annual recurring revenue of 2.7 million euros. That's 225,000 euros a month that they are getting for these dog boxes that they are supplying to these 9,000 odd active clients. Their valuation is 3 million, so it's well worth having a look at that opportunity too. So just confirm that, a valuation of 3 million, but they're turning over a 3 million, almost 3 million a year anyway, as it is. Don't forget, unlike other investment vehicles, investing in companies through Spark is with 0 commission. Investors pay nothing at all, no commission, no fees for you to consider at all. As always, we're very keen to arrange one-to-one meetings with the investors and the promoters. So if any investor wants to ask some more detailed questions of a business before investing, please reach out to us and we'll facilitate that meeting. After Paddy's presentation, we'll open the floor to questions from the investors. So please add your questions into the Q&A box instead of the chat function, please, and we'll put them to Paddy. We already have a number of questions submitted, and we'll try to get through them all. But if you don't, I'll get Paddy to answer those questions offline, and then we'll publish them onto the site as well. So let's get started. Paddy, perhaps you can turn on your camera if you would, please.
Thanks, Emil. No pressure then. No pressure.
No pressure.
That, yeah.
Paddy has been instrumental in the growth of Paddy Power Betfair over the last 25 years as head of communication, has been responsible for many of the edgy marketing campaigns that they've done over that time. We all know that Flutter, as it is now, of course, is a FTSE 100 company, but its size is quite remarkable. Its market cap is bigger than Ryanair, Bank of Ireland, and AIB combined. So Paddy brings with him a wealth of experience and expertise, as well as industry connections to this new investment opportunity. As you may be aware, ASX raised with us on the platform 15 months ago. And this will be the last time that private investors will be able to get a slice of ASX before their Series A raise in 6 to 9 months' time. And also, Paddy is personally investing 100,000 into the business in this round. So Paddy, you're very welcome. Perhaps you can share your screen with us, and you can get started with the presentation, and I'll see you at the other end for the Q&A.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Chris. And hello, everybody, and welcome aboard. Hang on one sec. Let's share this. There you go. I'll make this full screen, and we should be good to go. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a million, Chris, and welcome everybody, and thanks a million for tuning in to our current investors, people who backed us from the very beginning, and other ones joining the journey now or considering joining the journey now. for the next, I guess, 10 or 15 minutes or so. I'm going to fly through a little deck, which will give you a fair idea about, first of all, what ASX is as a recap for some, and obviously an introduction to others, and also a rundown about what we've kind of achieved to date and what we've been doing for the last 18 months or so, and where we see ourselves going in the future, and I guess the reason why we're here today doing this presentation and doing this fundraising round. So without further ado, I'll get started. And in terms of what is ASX Sports, I've got probably the longest sentence in the history of the English language up there, but it's a next generation technology platform that provides an innovative and new genre of fantasy contest and virtual stock market for sports players and teams to increase fan engagement while returning ownership and value to the fans, clubs, and athletes. So in short, what that means is we are a fintech-inspired trading platform for fantasy sports. We're next generation because we're live and in play, so we get direct sports feeds into our platform, which allows the prices of the value of our athletes and our teams change dynamically during play, which is a world's first, and it's very different from the fantasy sports which exists at the moment, which is very much set and forget, i.e. like the ones you'd see in the Irish Times or whatever, where you pick your team, you sit back and watch the matches, and you hope you do well. At the end of the game, if somebody's playing rubbish, you can sell them. If someone's playing well, you can buy them, and it makes it much more dynamic and much more engaging for fans and for the partners of fans, which is important. But I'll come on to that in a little while. In terms of some media coverage that we've had so far to date, we've had plenty of press coverage over the last 18 months or so. And I'll explain briefly why we have. The US market is the market that we're after, and that we're kind of commercializing in. You've obviously all read about the US gaming market, how big it is and how big it's going to be potentially, and just the size of like Chris described there, the size of Flutter, for example, whose company FanDuel in the US is the biggest there. DraftKings is a big competitor to FanDuel. They were ex-fantasy sports providers, and they're gone into the sports betting market because the US is kind of legalizing state by state with regard to sport betting. So what's happening in that gigantic market, where it's like tens of billions and hundreds of billions worth of market to go after, the bigger companies are getting bigger. There's lots of consolidation in that marketplace, and you see all the talk about is about market share and spend, and whether the cost of acquisition, all these things in the traditional sports betting market. But what's interesting, and the reason why we're getting plenty of press coverage and have done, is there's not a huge amount of talk about innovation in that market. So the US is kind of catching up on the rest of the world, if you like, on the Aussie market, which is more mature now. The Aussie market went through this about 10 or 12 years ago. And the UK and Irish market is obviously is more developed, probably the most developed in the world from a traditional betting point of view. But there's not a huge amount of talk about innovation, and the innovation with regard to live in play is very important, I believe, because most betting happens in play now, and has done for many years. But also the other innovative part is regard to blockchain and the future of technology, and that's something that I'll come on to a little bit later in the presentation. So just that's the reason why the PR is important. Obviously, with our partnerships and partnership discussions with people as well, as we're a young growing company, the fact that there's something about us when they Google us after a meeting to see who we are, that kind of helps too as well. So where we are with regard to markets offered, so globally we have the game is available for Major League Rugby, Six Nations, Premier League. You probably all played the Six Nations anyway. Premier League, La Liga, and a lot of the American sports too. And in the pipeline we have like Premier League, Indian Premier League cricket, the Rugby World Cup's obviously not too far away now. PGA Tour golf, maybe Live Golf as well. The ladies sports, and also Formula One. And one of the great things about ASX, as you'll know, if you've played the different sports on it, and if you've been to this presentation before, and you've probably seen on some of the other decks on the Spark platform, is that it's all about the data feed. So we just get Sport Radar, whoever the provider might be, to plug in the data feed for that particular sport, and it's effectively rinse and repeat. And the algorithms will read the data and spit out the I guess the stock prices for the various athletes involved, and the game runs as and when. So the beauty of that is that it's very quick turnaround. So for example, if the Indian Premier League, fingers crossed, you never know, if an Indian Premier League team decided that they want to offer ASX to their fan base, we can turn that around very, very quickly. It's not a huge dev task. It just takes a small bit of investment and a bit of focus, and we can plug in the data feeds for that and have it turned around very, very quickly. So it gives us a great dynamic adaptability across different sports, and we can kind of I guess, jump to our partners' demands, so to speak, very quickly. Our journey so far, you can see, well, Chris mentioned we did have a great raise on Spark last year. Thank you very much for all the people who jumped on board early on, and hopefully we'll be one of the stories that Chris is talking about this time next year, one of these presentations with somebody else. But we had a 2.2 million seed back in May 2021, so the guts of a year and a half ago. We have a Dublin HQ in Clonskea and also a Miami base now, with Anthony Ponteriero, who you probably saw in the promo video, the depressingly good-looking Australian living in Miami, living his best life, I'd like to say, over there. And that's, Miami is obviously a very strategic hub for both crypto and tech, and it's kind of the place to be in the States. A very very efficient tax structure, all that kind of stuff. There's loads of reasons why Miami is a great place for tech businesses to have as their HQ. We've built up a team of 25. We've tried to have strategic hires in some of the senior positions, the important positions, and that gives us the levers to pull, because as and when we have the funds available and the opportunity available, we can actually scale up very, very quickly in the various different areas. Like I have them listed there, like, you know, engineering, products, and sport betting and gaming and blockchain as well. So we're in a position where we can kind of ramp up those areas very, very quickly, which is important for us as a growing company, you know. In terms of our product and in terms of some of the milestones that we've reached so far, again, in the recent investor update, you'll have seen some of these and also in the video, but it gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit more about some of the more recent ones. So obviously we successfully launched the ASX app for both Android and Apple back in November. That was within 6 months, and apparently the techies tell me that that's very, very quickly. So well done to the techies. Nothing to do with me, but fair play to them for getting it done so quickly. But they would say that, wouldn't they? But it is a feather in the cap, I believe, to have it done that quick. We launched our first commercial beta campaign for the Rugby Six Nations in partnership with Sky Sports Rugby Pass. That's important. That's really important. I know it's happened quite a while ago now, because it was the Six Nations, it was last year, but it's worth kind of patting ourselves on the back for that, because getting a deal across the line with somebody as prestigious as Sky Sports is very helpful for a young company. It gives us a lot of kudos for many of the other conversations we have, and all these things build, and they help build your story and help open doors when you're trying to create other partnership deals in the future. And that beta campaign, I'm sure there'll be probably questions about that, but I'll talk about that again in a bit later. But just to say, it was hugely successful for us. We learned so much from it, like lots of customer feedback. I mean, it was a different planet we were on from the beginning of the campaign to the end of it. And it was just the beta product, and just everything from onboarding to user experience to the importance of the speed of the feeds and all that kind of stuff. There's just loads of learnings that are really important for us to learn, and to be able to do them in a beta campaign with a big partner like Sky Sports Rugby Pass was an opportunity for us. And that led to 20,000 plus app installs, which was great, and 30,000 unique players on the platform. And that's all again, I stressed it in the video as well, that's all on the beta, all free to play. And this game is obviously so much more compelling. These games are more compelling when there's actually cold hard cash at stake. So getting the big engagement on free to play is it's significant, and it's compelling, and it's great. We've like I said, 595,000 sports coins there. It's higher than that now. The number is heading for more 700,000 or so. That's those sports coins. Their utility at the moment is to basically buy access to some of the games on the platform. But the reality is, in the future, as I'll discuss later on, in the future, when you bring in some of the blockchain elements of it, the sports coins will become more important. It's great to have a bit of liquidity in the market already seeded. 1 million video impressions across social channels. That's deadly. That's just a great, lovely, big round number. And now, but the most important things, the two most important things, is first of all that we introduced real money cash gains for the US players in 23 states in June 22. And it's a simple sentence, but actually the amount of work and hard work that went into getting that over the line is incredible. It's in regard to legal framework, all that kind of stuff, and just getting all that together is it took an awful long time and an awful lot of effort. And I think fair play to the team for getting that across the line, because it's really important that we can actually make money, right? So being able to get that across the line with the comfort of proper legal opinion behind it has been huge for us. And also with the development of the peer-to-peer game, which again is it's huge, because that allows us to offer the architecture and the infrastructure to our partners for them to monetize their fans. So effectively, we have two customers here. We've got the customer, who's the person playing the game, but almost as importantly, we've got the customer who is the partner who is distributing the game to their fans, and they're making money out of it too. And so it's really important to get that peer-to-peer element across, because that can be like the runner of that peer-to-peer game can be anything from, you know, a club to a team to a league to, I don't know, YouTube influencer. It doesn't matter. Anybody with a big social following can monetize their fan base and their following, which is, it's a huge innovation for us to have. And the more recent one is we secured a key partnership with the Ventus Network, who you may never have heard of, but that offers the opportunity to create, it's the world's first private sports blockchain, which sounds cool, but I'll tell you why it's particularly cool, because it's we had this budgeted into our long-term plan, and we reckoned to create our blockchain, it was going to cost us the guts, like maybe 400 grand, possibly $500,000, money that we just could not afford to spend at this stage. So we thought this would be a post-Series A development for us, but this has offered us the opportunity to do this now much earlier than expected, which gives us a real kind of shot in the arm to allow us to move forward with our long-term plan as well. So that was a really exciting opportunity that came our way, and we're delighted to execute on that in the very near future with our index game. So I talked about some of the partners we have, just a quick recap on them. Sky Sports Rugby Pass, I talk about them at length in every presentation I ever do. The Sports Radar, that's the fuel, that's the petrol. I mean, you plug in the sports feeds. We don't have them, we don't have a live dynamic game. That gives us like the next generation part of it. So Sports Radar, great relationship with them with regard to the various different sporting data feeds they can offer us. And we can switch them on and off and ramp them up and work with them to increase the speed and all that kind of stuff. And as you probably saw in the intros, if you read all the intro stuff, we have a great relationship with Sports Radar because we are one of their little babies, because we took part in across the line. It's hard for startups to get merchant banking sorted, but particularly in the gaming sector. So getting that across the line was brilliant. Ventus, I talked about the blockchain infrastructure that will become hugely important for us in the very near future, a much nearer future than we expected, which is great. It's a great opportunity for us and for our partners. And then obviously the couple of agencies we have, the marketing agency in New York that Anthony talked about, and then the PR agency as well, and then the legal and gaming opinions, which just allows us to operate in the US and those 23 states with the comfort that we have the most famous legal firm in this area in the States. So every big betting company in the US uses Dwayne Morris for legal opinion. So getting the legal opinion from them is about as good an endorsement as you can get. So we have the comfort now that we're absolutely able to operate without worrying about any kind of regulatory issues in the future. Well, sorry, we don't definitely know that, but in terms of legal opinion, we are 100% as clear as we can be that we're absolutely fully on the right track, and we're operating exactly as we should be in the US, which is massive. And in terms of what's next, well, I mentioned our peer-to-peer digital infrastructure briefly there, and that's really massive for us, because these are the new revenue streams that we want to create, we want to tap into across the creator economy, because we're going at this we're not going to try and take on the likes of, we have a different next generation product too, but swimming in the same waters as the likes of FanDuel and DraftKings. We don't have hundreds of millions of quid to be spending on marketing direct to consumers. So while we'll do a small amount of that, the reality is that our growth is going to become through partnerships and leveraging this new peer-to-peer, the only live peer-to-peer infrastructure, which will allow our partners, whether that be, as I said, like YouTube influencers or clubs or leagues or individual players, to tap into their social followings and their fan base to be able, and they'll monetize those, and platform fee for that will be the service provider, and that's where we see some real growth opportunities for us. In terms of, we try and secure some more long-term agreements with existing partners across the US sports franchise and media companies, again for the same reason, to get us to critical mass of users on the platform. We have a number of deals done with, like WinBet. We have an affiliate deal done with them in New York. We have lots of close to completion conversations with sports franchises, particularly in the Miami area, and universities and players themselves and player groups and fan groups. And it's the list is long, and Anthony in the States is busy pounding the pavements, getting those deals across the line, which is brilliant. And the index game I mentioned, that's going to be a big game changer for us. So we're just nearly there, with a couple of months away from completing the development of our new season-long index game, which offers the opportunity to have the ASX game on a long-term basis as well as the short-term. Yeah, so that's where we are. That's what we've done. That's where we've come from. I hope I've covered most of the things, but if not, hopefully some of them will pop up in the questions and answers, and I'll be able to address them then. So thank you.
Excellent. Paddy, thank you very much indeed. I'm not sure whether it was my connection or your connection, but I was losing you towards the end, so I'm not sure. I don't know what. Anyway, listen, hopefully the questions and answers will sort it out. So if you want to close your presentation or stop sharing, and we'll crack on into the questions. So first question in, and we've got a good number of them, so I'm not sure how many we're going to get through, but anyway, let's give it a go. How much of the funds being raised now are going into technology and operations versus the amount going into user acquisition?
So I think you'd be looking at like lick your finger in the air, about 50-50. Like, we do have to finish the index games. That'll be one of the first things we do, is invest in that tech to get that across the line, because that offers us a great commercial opportunity. Once we have that done, it offers a great commercial opportunity for our partners to go and monetize their fans, which is a key kind of lever for us to pull with regards to revenue. So the initial spend will be on the tech, and then the point spend on marketing until we have the product right. Okay, so once we get that, and we're completely beyond the beta now, that then we start spending on the marketing, and the marketing will be mostly spent through partnerships rather than us going out to compete with the likes of FanDuel and DraftKings as well.
Very good, thanks.
Another funding question there for you, Paddy. So how would the funding be spent exactly, the goals, timelines, and eventually moving forward to Series A?
Yeah, so as I said, so the in terms of the levers to pull, the path to Series A for us is pretty clear. So we've waited before going for Series A. We're going to wait for another small amount of time, 6 to 9 months is what we said, because we don't reckon we're at a decent enough valuation yet. And I think we can get there relatively quickly. And there's a few levers we can pull to commercialize and monetize and just show that story of revenue growth. And the way to do that, obviously, is to get the index game finalized, to lean on our partnership now at Aventus, and that allows more opportunity for our partners to monetize their fan base. And once we do that, we get some partners on board with regard to, say, like I keep mentioning, influencers and teams and players and people, and get them on board.
Not sure. Is it particularly you getting interrupted signal there?
In your team.
We there? Are we back on? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we're back.
on.
Sorry.
The usual round. Yeah, it's fine. So obviously, in terms of unique selling points and things like that, there's obviously some massive companies in the sector. But as I said, kind of in the intro, when I was talking about the PR and the presentation there, like, one of the things about the industry is that it's a massive land grab, and will be for the foreseeable future. And the bigger guys are getting bigger, and there's just consolidation and mergers and acquisitions in the industry, and very little focus on innovation. So the fact that we have a couple of unique things, like we're the only live in-play fantasy game. Like, I'm not naive enough to think that somebody else couldn't go and create a live fantasy game. As long as if they go and pay Sportradar loads of money, they'll get the feeds too. That's okay. They will have to spend some time building out the tech and building the opportunity. I don't believe they will, because I believe they're too busy growing and getting massiver. And also the fact that we have the deal with Aventus, I think that's hugely innovative. I think that's going to be massive for us. It's going to give us a nodal architecture on the blockchain, which is something that hasn't even kind of resonated within the industry yet. And I think we will get a jump on people then. And, I guess people always wonder about where the exit might come down the road. And I think that, you know, us getting a jump on the market and some of these new innovations will put us in a very strong position from that perspective too, down the road a little bit.
Excellent.
Great. What are the risks for not making Series A, and how are you mitigating those?
Right, there's a couple of risks. Okay, first of all, there's loads of risks. But anyway, first of all, the main one would be stuff like things like regulatory risk, right? There's a regulatory risk. Now, the market does seem to be going in that way. I mean, everybody, all the major companies are investing heavily in the States. So it doesn't look like that train is turning around. And the fact that we've got Dwayne Morris legal opinions will give us as much comfort as you can, like a high 90% comfort, but it is a risk, obviously. Like if everything changed, that's obviously an issue. There's a product risk if we don't get our product done, product across the line and product good, user friendly enough. But again, that's on us, and we do have the devs in place. We've shown so far we're able to deliver a product very quickly and get in the app store and get it live. We've stress tested the whole thing and everything. So I think we're going to mitigate that as much as we can. I mean, we're differentiated through our live in-play DFS. That gives us a bit of uniqueness. And also the thing I probably haven't stressed enough is what the peer-to-peer technology gives is it gives the players the opportunity to own the infrastructure and own the architecture. And that player could be you or me, or it could be our local football club or tennis club or whatever, or it could be, I don't know, Liverpool Football Club, or it could be probably more like a US franchise, but you understand what I mean? Like, so people actually can become their own FanDuel or become their own DraftKings and own that platform for themselves, and we'll get the platform fee as a partner with them. So that's an opportunity that nobody else is in that space. So like there's a risk that somebody else goes into all these spaces, but there's a risk that Google decide to take up and change direction and do something or whatever, and that's always going to be a risk there. But I think we've mitigated. We have our unique selling points in a number of different areas. We've covered off the areas that we would be stuff outside our control, like as much as we can, for example, regulatory risk, and then the stuff that's within our control in terms of tech stack and all that kind of thing. That's very much in our focus every day. So we're mitigating as and when we go. But like early company, fast growth, you know, they're the things that keep you up at night. Like all these little things that come around the corner, you know.
Excellent. I have a question here just on strategy and the go-to-market strategy. I suppose it'd be interesting to know as well, what markets do you find will be the biggest for you, and what are you targeting initially, Paddy? So
one of the things that we've learned actually over the last year and like last 6 months even is that you're looking at everything and this opportunity is massive and you're looking at the world is huge and everything, but actually we really needed to focus on certain things. Now, focusing on like the US, it's a fairly big focus, you know, it's quite a big market in its own right. And the most pragmatic reason why the US is the main market to go after is that we can make money there. We are legally allowed to take real cash in, so therefore we can generate revenue, which, you know, will be the case in other places going forward. India would be another one that if the opportunity came up, very quickly we could turn that into a revenue making market. But some of the more mature markets like the UK and Ireland, for example, there's a huge and expensive and timely licensing process to go through. So free to play is fine here. And that's why if you go on the platform now, you'll see a different platform that a player in the US will see, because you can't play for real money over here, but in the US obviously it's a different interface because it's for real cash and that. But so that's one of the most pragmatic reasons. And also, to be honest with you, I mean, if we do get a lot of traction in the US market, I mean, sure, we're way in a hack, aren't we? I mean, that's what we're after.
That's where the big money is.
Good. You mentioned in your presentation a couple of different markets and sports. So what is the focus? Which sport are you going after first? You know, what's the main thrust there?
So at the US sports is the main focus. Now, we've done our test bed in rugby, which people say, why did you do that? And I mean, just to answer that question is because people are scratching their head going, why rugby? And the reason why was because we were the only ones in the space. We are the only ones who had that rugby data. So we had it to ourselves, no competitors. And also it was just a live tournament in play. We were based in Dublin, testing out the platform and everything with a sport that we knew everything about, and everything just worked for us, right? And that we were able to test out all the technical parts of the platform, which was great. Now, the US sports, because we're monetized in the US, we've been offering a Premier League and that in the US the early part of the season before the NFL kicked off. and we found a decent bit of traction on that. But obviously, time of day, it wasn't the most compelling for people like filling pubs at 10 a.m. to go watch Chelsea play Brighton or whoever. So the NFL is where we're starting to see the traction. That was always the plan, to launch for the NFL season, which we've done, and thankfully we got there in time where we can monetize the NFL season, which is that's the biggest sport for us right at the moment. But then there will come a time when NBA becomes the biggest and the NFL season's over, we move on to some of the other US sports, and it's up to us then just to grow and to have those partnerships in place to execute on that when the opportunity pops up.
Excellent. I have a question here just regarding Miami, and a lot of emphasis on the video was, obviously making Miami the hub, and it is, a kind of the capital of cryptocurrency in the US. Is there a plan for sports coins to become a cryptocurrency, a blockchain itself?
Yeah, long term, yeah, there will be. Like, that's on our long term wish list plan. With that like sports coins at the moment, there's whatever 700,000 sports coins in circulation, and the only value they have is they give you access to certain games on the ASX platforms. You can't be going down the shop and buying a pint of milk with them. You can try, but you might struggle. But it's just a credit at the moment. But then, like, when in the future we would see the opportunity potentially to have a cryptocurrency on the blockchain. And that being the case, then having some kind of liquidity seeded into the market, there might be a couple of million sports coins out there at that stage when this becomes a potential reality. Now, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but we just want to have our bases covered. It costs us nothing to drop sports coins into people's wallets. So just to have our bases covered for the future, that there will be already a liquidity there. And that all we need to create is more utility for those coins to make them a currency.
Brilliant. Future proofing going forward, I suppose. Yeah.
That's you're always thinking,
I'd like insights into the partnerships the company's developed and their strategic benefits, one questioner asks.
Okay, so I've talked about Eventus, like I think that's massive for us, because the first part of me is going, it's massive because it was going to cost us so much bloody money to do it ourselves. So the fact that we've got this partnership is great, and there'll be and that gives us that again, it goes into maybe future proofing, and that's in terms of our long-term strategy. Like this, it's kind of our secret sauce. I don't know to go too much on about it, but the nodal technology that gives, or the nodal ability that gives us on the blockchain, allows a very efficient transfer of value to partners and players and people who own big fan bases. So that partnership with Eventus will become very, very important to us in the very near future. I think that's massive for us. Sportradar, as I mentioned before, I mean, that's the fuel. Like, without Sportradar, we don't have live games. We need to buy those data feeds from somewhere. Sportradar, a distributor of data feeds. I mean, we're absolutely aligned with them because they need ways to monetize their data feeds, and we are another one of the many ways they have to monetize that data feed, which they spent a squillion quid on or whatever. So we're very much aligned with them. And like, as I said, the boring partnerships, like the legal partnerships, the marketing agencies and all that kind of stuff, that's really important, just to keep things ticking over, to make sure we're covered, all our bases are covered and everything. And then from the commercial partnerships point of view, so WinBet into New York is a big one for us, because that's the first kind of mainstream betting company that we've signed an affiliate agreement with. So that gives us the self-belief and also the kudos that we've got one across the line with regard to a traditional sports betting company, and that helps us go and negotiate with others too, to offer an affiliate relationship between the two of us. And then secondly, Anthony is busy, the poor fella, going to all these sporting events in Miami all the time, to Miami Heat and the Dolphins and whoever it might be, and he's got like conversations going with everybody. And now that we're actually able to monetize, because before it was all a promise, wait till we have peer-to-peer, wait till we have real cash, wait till we have this. We have all that now. So all these conversations that have been ongoing for months and months and months now are suddenly becoming reality, and they're getting commercials on the table and getting deals signed, because they can actually, the partners and potential partners can actually see a path to revenue, whereas before it was like always on the promise, this is coming, and now we have it. The technology is there, so we can execute on them, which is great.
Excellent. I have a question here regarding your learnings from Sky Rugby Pass. So what did you learn from the proof of concept, and what would you do differently, Paddy?
Jesus, make yourself comfortable. This could take a while. So, okay, well, contextually again, it was beta, right? So this is the examples. It was a beta product. So, but what we learned is it's stuff that you wouldn't really have copped on, because you do have rose tinted glasses when you're looking at your own platform all the time. So, this is really good and that's good. And because you know it, you understand it quite quickly. But a lot of the feedback was like, what the hell is this? And it was too complicated and too tricky, and the sports feeds were slow and all this kind of stuff. And we learned, and we worked with Sport Radar, we sped up the feed, because the problem was somebody was buying a player, they're scoring a try, but their price wasn't increasing and stuff like that. So like, there was just a real time lag. So we worked with Sport Radar to fix that. We were wondering why there was people were downloading the app and going on, but not seeing through the onboarding process. And then we copped on that was too onerous, and there's cleverer ways to get around that, to shorten that process. There's a lot of user experience stuff, and thankfully we've a lot of what do you call them, advocates, or there's a word, a fancy word, and a lot of people actually really love it, and they just, it annoys them, remember, crap, and they just get onto us and they give out to us and give out to us, and we fix stuff. And we've got people like that who are just really kind of passionate about it, and they're the ones, like, they're like the Wikipedia people or something. They're the ones who really help us make improvements, you know. And that's from that beta launch, it was and I think, like, honestly, I think this wasn't part of the design, but as it turned out, I think because it's like a lot of us, the founding members and the management team, you know, any of the ones based in Ireland anyway, would be kind of rugby fans. It's something that we really got, you know, you could see this feedback you could really get. And so we were able to then adapt it very quickly and improve on those simple things. And a lot of them were easy, quick fixes that we didn't cop were a problem at all. So we learned loads from that. And we'd like to think now it's like, well, it's on a different planet than it was at the beginning of that beta test. So it's probably not there yet. I mean, it's never there, right? You're always improving, but it's way further along the road than it was.
There's a couple of questions here about the Series A. So how soon do you think the Series A you'll have it? And have you started discussions? Well, you've mentioned 6 to 9 months already, but anyway, have you started the discussions? And valuation for that Series A? What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, so it's obviously the macroeconomic climate has changed somewhat since, like, over the last year or so, which is fine. But some of the valuations that have happened within the industry are kind of eye-watering. Like, Jock Market got a 10 million Series A with 10,000 players on their platform. You got Mojo got a 60 million Series A with no product. There's a company in England or in India rather, his name escapes, it's got a 100 million Series A. So there's lots of money in this sector, right? So out there now, we have been talking to VCs all along, and like, we've never had one conversation. It's always been a few, and it's always come down to recently, it's just like, in terms, the valuation is the point where we need, there's I guess there's a template of boxes we need to tick, and one of them is showing revenue growth. And we want to show as strong a revenue growth as we can. So we want to pull as many levers as we can to get ourselves to a short-term significant growth, month on month, to be able to have that story to tell, to say, look, we're a rocket ship, so we should be valued at X. If they're valued at 60 million with no product, what should we be valued at with this great product? Now, lick on your finger and put it in the air, and please don't hold me to this because it's not my area of expertise, but I'd be saying like maybe a 10 million out of 50 million valuation, something like that. That's kind of the ballpark you'd be kind of hoping for, I think.
And there's a follow-on question from that. And following the Series A, what's the most likely exit then for the investors?
Like I mentioned it earlier, like, we're very open-minded about this. We all want the fans. We all want to be sitting on the yacht together, don't we? This time next year, Rodney. But I think if, according to our plan, if we can execute to our plan, and things will change obviously over the time, I think what we're going to have is the most innovative product in the marketplace in an area that suddenly people are going to go, Jesus, this could be huge. And I think we're going to be an easy target for a trade takeover or a trade purchase. Obviously wouldn't have a closed mind about an IPO down the road or whatever. It's a long way away, with plenty of steps to go through first. But I would think all going well, successful Series A, deploy those funds to grow into a serious player with a really unique angle to the industry. I think we become attractive.
Excellent. I have a technical question for you, Paddy, here. Just other than the player performance, what other methods determine how a player's price can change?
Okay, so there's the player performance is the most fit now. This really is not my area of expertise, and thankfully I was never a maths nerd. But so effectively what it is, the algorithm has crunched, I know, thousands of games of historical data to predict how a player should perform, or how a player should perform in the context of the team they're playing, and all that kind of mathsy stuff. And their performance on the pitch versus how they're expected to perform affects how the share price moves up and down, but market forces also have an impact. So the majority of it, and I'm going to say like 80% of it is down to performance of the pitch, and 20% is down to market forces. Like if everybody buys Ronaldo, Ronaldo's price goes up, like so. But it's but we have to have it in such a way that you can't have that everyone buys Ronaldo and he plays rubbish, but he performs best on the platform. That obviously doesn't make sense. It's not intuitive for the user. So we have it weighted the other way, that performance will be the most important indicator of the price movement.
Brilliant. Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, listen, we kind of there's dozens of questions here, but we're not going to really have
loads of homework then.
Absolutely, yes, exactly.
Great.
But before we wrap up, Paddy, perhaps you can just give us an idea, summarize in a few sentences why you think it's a good investment for people to come in at this stage.
Well, the reason I've gone in again is because I think we're like I was willing to put my money where my mouth was like 18 months and even before that, and I thought it was a really, really good idea. And now it's not just an idea. Now it's a product. It's a commercial, like post-revenue product. It's making revenue now. And I think that's compelling. I believe even stronger than I did at the time in the opportunity, because I think that it is something new and something unique. And I think the direction that we're going, there's nobody else going exactly where we're going. And I think the fact that we're supplying architecture to other people, when the covers are pulled back and people realize that they can be the host, they can be the platform provider themselves, I think it's very compelling, and I think it's almost irresistible.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Okay. Well, listen, I think we'll wrap it up there, but thanks very much for your time, Paddy. Just in closing then, so you've heard from Paddy, and I think you'll all agree that it's a very worth a serious consideration for an investment. This will be the last time that private investors are going to be able to invest into the business, I think, before the Series A. So, well, sorry, not I think, that is going to be the case. And of course, as I said in the opening statement, Paddy is investing again in this round, and obviously putting his money where his mouth is, as I just said. So so we've already got a number of meetings already scheduled for one-to-ones. So if anybody else wants to avail of one of those, then we can set up a small, Zoom, or even a larger Zoom if you've got a few friends who want to kind of get involved as well, and we can set that up. But I think really that's it for today. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Paddy, thank you very much. Fergal, thank you for asking the questions, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, lads.
Take care, guys.